Appreciate you both. Please take it away and let us hear about the good work that y'all are up to.
Great. Thanks for having us. And we are just so happy to be here at the Visible and Unstoppable Zoomathon. I am Kristen, and I'm here with Kamala, and we are going to talk a little bit in conversation about the work at the National Center for Youth Law in support of queer youth. First, I just wanted to start by telling you about the National Center for Youth Law. You may hear us call it NCYL, but we'll try our best to refer to it as the National Center for Youth Law. The National Center for Youth Law works nationally. We are a national nonprofit legal organization, and we fight for justice for youth. And we fight in a lot of different ways, and we fight for all youth, which includes queer youth. And so we fight for things like a fair and inclusive education. We fight for the right for kids to live with their families, to live in their communities, to not be separated from their families. We fight against discrimination in all its forms. We fight for kids to have health care and mental health care that is appropriate and affordable and accessible for them. And we fight for kids just to be safer than they are today. And we do all this, we fight with many of you, and we fight with youth. And we fight in communities. With communities, we rally and work, and we provide a lot of different. We do it in a lot of different ways. But today, we're mostly going to talk about how we do it in terms of our legal advocacy. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about me, and then Kamala, you can talk about you. So I'm Kristen Weber. I use she, her pronouns. I am based right outside of Washington, D.C., which today we are in the middle of a crazy heat dome. So our brains are a little fried today. I'm a lawyer by training. I've never had a client over the age of 18. And I did a lot of work mostly with kids who were caught up in the foster system, but a little bit in other systems as well. I went on to do research and work with some others on this call around in this Zoomathon on Get Real. I think Bill's going to talk a lot more about the Get Real work we did. But my work has really been about stopping the harms of the child welfare or family policing system to specific populations of kids that experience the most harm. And that's Black and Indigenous kids, and that's queer youth. So that's about me. Kamala, you.
Thanks, Kristen. And thank you so much to everyone for being here. I am so excited to be here. This event was something I too personally very much needed. So thank you to Elliot and everyone who worked so hard to get it together. My name is Kamala Buchanan-Williams. I'm an attorney with the National Center for Youth Law. Here at NCYL, my work mostly focuses on as Kristen said, preventing entries into the child welfare system and serving kids who are caught up in the foster system. I also do a lot of work on education and education equity, and most relevantly here, I co-lead NCYL's advocacy for LGBTQ youth. Before coming to NCYL, I also represented young people. I too have never had a client under the age of 18, and I was doing foster care work and education equity work in communities all around the state of Georgia. So I'm very happy to be here, and thank you so much for having us.
So we thought we would do just a conversation, which mostly means I get to ask Kamala questions because they're leading this work. So Kamala, why don't you tell everybody a bit about the National Center for Youth Law's and your orientation and approach to this work?
Sure. So as you said, our work intends to center young people, to be led by young people, and to radically transform the systems that impact their lives. We have learned over the many years that National Center for Youth Law has been doing this work, that a lot of the systems that are supposed to care for young people are actually harming them. Systems like the juvenile legal system and the child welfare system, instead of supporting and rehabilitating young people and their families, they separate them, cause trauma themselves, reinforce racial disparities, and most importantly, harm LGBTQ youth who might seek out those systems for shelter and support. So that's the lens that we bring to this work for LGBTQ youth. There are so many incredible legal organizations who do this work. We really see our role as standing by and serving the queer and trans young people who are most harmed by all of the many attacks against LGBTQ youth that we've seen. So young people who don't have supportive families, young people who have been impacted by those systems that hurt them, young people from families with low incomes, families of color. These are kids who we know through our experience as attorneys and our own lived experiences experience amplified harms because of all of the many forces that act on them and all of the many kinds of bias and prejudice that exist in this world. And that's also my lens personally. I am a queer person of color. That is the perspective that I bring to this work. And it's really important to me in my work that I'm always accurately reflecting the beautiful and complicated and numerous identities and forces that shape how young people move through the world.
And so you and I also, we work together, like we're trying to figure out how to do legal advocacy, policy advocacy. We're trying to sort of change how people think, like the hearts and minds of folks. So a lot of different strategies, but I want to talk to you about the legal stuff. And what do you think legal advocacy can actually do, especially sort of in the moment that we're in? And sort of like maybe give us an example of from your work.
Yeah, totally. I think in the media and just sort of in popular culture, most people are probably most familiar with the really big cases that we and our partners are fighting in the courts today and will continue to. I think something that's interesting that a lot of people don't always think about is that those kinds of big wins and those kinds of big cases can take years and years and years and years of really small, really diligent, piece by piece behind the scenes work to try to change how courts and the public think about LGBTQ youth. So that's something that we at the National Center for Youth Law are really trying to do very thoughtfully and deliberately. We call it narrative change work. We're trying to change the assumptions and maybe wrong ideas that the people who are making decisions about queer and trans kids' lives have, and try to help them to understand what queer and trans kids actually experience in this world. So an example of this, I worked on a brief that in a case about a school district's policy banning forced outing. So folks who wanted school districts to have to out queer and trans kids to their families said that schools already have tools to protect kids who they think might be in danger because they could just report families to Child Protective Services. So we were in a position where we were able to explain to the court that this is a really terrible idea. Child welfare investigations themselves are really traumatic. This is a situation where the government is driving a wedge between families who are facing a situation that they've probably never encountered before, that they might need some time and support to come to terms with. And on the other end, we were able to talk about what queer and trans foster youth experience in the system and how that can be really scary and harmful too. So we were able to sort of give some color and nuance to the very black and white picture that the advocates for forced outing wanted the court to see.
Well, Kamala, we could talk all day. We have our next folks coming up right behind us. Can you, what would you like folks to know? Is there anything else that you would like to quickly share as we wrap up?
Yes, I just want to speak directly to young people. I am a queer person. I know how scary and lonely this moment can feel. And I just want folks to know that there are people all across the country who are fighting and want to fight tooth and nail for you and are not going to give up to make sure that you have the rights that you deserve. We would love to hear from you at NCYL. We can't take every case, but it's important, as I've said, that our advocacy is in dialogue with the people that it impacts. So even if we can't help you individually, hearing your experiences will help make our advocacy better for all queer and trans young people all across the country. So I'll put a little link in the chat about how to get in touch with us. But I hope that you know that you are the source of our power. Our community is the source of our power. And that is what we're trying to harness when we advocate in the courts.
And we love you.
And we love you.
We love you. Thank you both for being here. We're going to move to our next speaker, but if you two want to put in the chat what you do for joy, we'd be happy to see it. Show us your examples in there. Thanks so much, National Center for Youth Law. Appreciate you being here.